Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the Pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the Pregame.
And welcome into the pregame show with Bishop and Neely. Well, we made it back from Miami. It was a glorious time down there, Neely. 59-3 was your final score. Jackson State over Florida A&M in the Orange Blossom Classic. I tell you what, man, it was everything we thought it was going to be, Neely.
It was. I got to say this, Chuck. First off, the reason I know you look great tonight is I don't know how we end up wearing the same hoodie like this. This is never three seasons of football shows and we've never showed up at the same thing. And I turned on the screen. I said, damn it, we got on the same shirt. We look like Schwarzenegger and DeVito and twins.
Oh, man, I looked up, I said, look at this dude, what is he wearing?
Hey, man, we had a little storm roll through Jackson today. The temp dropped to, the mid-70s. Nice little hoodie weather. And then the hood protects you from the rain. Then I turned on the show link, and there's my co-host in the same clothes.
Oh, man, you got to love it, man. You got to love it. Well, I tell you what, bro. We came, we saw, we demolished, dominated. That's been the theme. That's going to be the theme this upcoming season. Jackson State went to Miami Gardens, Orange Blossom Classic, and took care of business to the tune of 59-3, Neil.
Chuck, I don't even know where to start, other than with a simple note that I wrote out there for all the naysayers. We get it ready for the screen. I think I'm gonna just do the whole show just like this. Even my little stick figure man down there doing the Jordan shrug.
Yeah.
Because Chuck, being embedded with this team during the spring, summer 1, summer 2, I told y'all this defense was better than last year. And I know the naysayers out there are going to still say, well, Neely, it was one game. We got to get further to the season. We'll see. It is what it is.
No doubt about it, man. You take a look at it. I mean, the stats bear it out in terms of dominating Florida A&M. Where do we start? Shedeur Sanders, 29 of 33, 323 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Man, when I say he was locked in, he was beyond locked in. He starts out the game 17-17.
17-17. And one of the things that he said on the sideline when we talked to him was the difference between this year and last year. When you look at 7-6 victory, and he had about 240 yards in that game versus this 59-3 victory. Is he put it on himself. He said, man, last year I was a freshman. He said, I turned the ball over like 2 or 3 times during that game. I still threw for 200+ yards, but I turned the ball over. He said, now I've had a true offseason, new strength and conditioning coach. I'm stronger, faster. The team is stronger and faster. We upgraded at receiver positions. He said, this is the type of offense with a new offense coordinator, with Coach Prime's message of dominance, not just winning. He said, that's the difference, but it starts with me. He said, last year I turned the ball over. I turned the ball over. And if I don't turn the ball over, this is what we're going to do week in, week out.
Not to mention, I think a lot of our Jackson State fans, They had questions about offensive line. Offensive line responded. We rushed for 139 yards in this game, Neil. I tell you, dominate doesn't even accurately describe, but I tell you what, a lot of questions were answered, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
You know, 100-yard gain, particularly when you're running with multiple backs, back by committee, if you will, 100-yard gain is not asking a lot. Mm-hmm. And we went undefeated in the SWAC last year. And all during those team meetings last season, all you heard was, hey, guys, if we get consistently 100 yards a game, we're going to blow people out. Because, you're no longer just one-dimensional. You're going to blow people out because now they got to come up, and try to protect against the run. And you see what happens when this team, which is high-powered at receiver, you see what happens with this team when you get 100-plus yards a game. And the running game showed up behind that offensive line. This offensive line was ridiculed, criticized, the center of attention, if you will, as far as is it really going to be upgraded or not. And those guys showed up. And here's one of the things that fans don't get to see or hear. And I want to point this out as a difference between this unit and last year's unit. Last year's unit, when you're on the bench with them, there was a lot of bickering back and forth, a lot of infighting, a lot of arguing in that offensive line huddle. Man, this year, these guys are together. It's five playing as one is their motto. 5 equals 1. And they are dialed in. They're pushing each other, encouraging each other. You don't see a lot of that infighting. They truly are working together as a unit. And that is catapulted by being just an upgraded talent. These guys are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they're hungrier. You saw what this Jackson State offensive line can do when they're dialed and locked in. And they did it against FAMU.
Not only that, Shedeur Sanders completed passes to 11 different receivers. We talked about this on the pregame show going into this game. The nation was going to get introduced to a lot of new faces, and those new faces showed up and showed out in this game, Neil.
Yeah, we talked about it. I see us on the screen behind you back there when we were in Miami. We talked about new names that you would hear, Rico Powers. We talked about, Dallas Daniels, both of them scoring. We talked about Willie Gaines, that possession receiver. And everybody knew about Kevin Coleman, who announced he was coming to Jackson State live during the bowl game. And when you went through the summer, everybody was saying, well, where's Malachi? We haven't seen Malachi. And I said, he hadn't made it here yet, but honestly, we haven't missed him, because there's so many bodies, talented bodies in that wide receiver room. And people are saying there's no way the top touchdown receiver from the team not being there for part of the summer is not going to impact the team. He didn't make the trip to Miami, and look what happened. This room is deep. So what's going to happen when he gets worked into this offense?
Sure.
And one thing I want to point out, Chuck, when you talk about those 11 different receivers, here's something that happened in Miami this year that didn't happen any last year. Man, the tight ends came to play.
The tight ends came to play. Yes, indeed. You talk about the work that the coaches have done with the tight ends. It was tremendous to see them get worked into the game. And you talk about adding another dimension to this offense. You got some speed going vertical, and you got those tight ends going across the middle, making hard catches, another target in the red zone, if you will. Tight ends played a tremendous game.
Yeah, and another body to block. These are blocking tight ends. They're not just receiving tight ends. And then you had one of the tight ends who's not even TE1 was the one who scored a touchdown. They're all three getting worked into the offense. So there's depth there. So fatigue isn't factoring in when it's time to transition from blocking, on this particular scheme to being a receiver or threat at receiver on this particular scheme. Because it just gives QB1 Shedeur Sanders another guy to check down to when you see that deep ball in there. Well, here's a big body that I might throw a 5-yard pass to. He's going to rumble, stumble, bumble, like Berman used to say, for 15 and possibly a score. So seeing what Tim Brewster has done in just this summer and getting our tight ends engaged and involved in the offense, you just understand why he is a tight end guru and why Coach Brown brought him in to help put a spark under this offense.
No doubt about it. DJ Stevens, Jesse Riley, and a new face, Hayden Hagler, all contributed for Jackson State this past week against Florida A&M. Like you mentioned, Tim Brewster, he's been working with those guys. And I tell you what, They played a well of a game. We're going to need their contributions throughout the rest of this season. But it was a great start for this Jackson State offense, Neely. And I tell you what, when they're clicking on all cylinders, bro, it is so tough to really cover all the things that our offensive coordinator can throw at
you. You got three backs, that can get yards. You got three tight ends that can block and make catches. You have a wide receiver room of 12 or 13, and 7 of them in any game, 5 of them in any game, can score touchdowns or burn you for big plays. You got an offensive line that now has talent and depth, not just talent and depth. So you're changing bodies as the game, goes on. So that offensive side of the ball is built for domination. Everybody wondered what the hell is wrong with Deion Sanders when he would revamp an offense from a team that went undefeated in conference and won a conference championship. And he told you it was because we're not just trying to win, we're trying to dominate. I know we're just 1 week in, chapter 1, if you will, of this 13-chapter book. But if we do what we did in Miami the rest of this season, this is what you're going to see. And I want to point out to folks who say, well, FAMU was going through some things, and they had a tough week. Yeah, we had a tough. We didn't have any damn water. We had to bounce around town and stay in other places. But this is a FAMU team who was short-staffed and scored 24 points against a UNC team, a Power 5 team. Very much so. On their home field. So don't think that, well, maybe Jackson State is not that good. Those guys are just that bad. Yeah, they weren't bad 7 days earlier when you were watching them play UNC. So that was a credible team out there that Jackson State just dominated from start to finish.
And speaking of dominating, what else can you say about Dennis Thurman's defense? I said on the pregame show leading into FAMU, in Dennis Thurman we trust. And I tell you what, they limited FAMU to only 155 yards. Tremendous performance by that Jackson State dark side defense, bro. I keep telling the old guys, they're waking up the echoes of some of the greatest defenses that we've ever seen. But like you said, this is a 13-chapter book. That was chapter 1. Chapter 1, they passed with flying colors, bro.
Some of our old guys who I love to death, I'm one of them, see all this great. They remind me of the LeBron and Jordan debates, that two things can't be great or true at the same time. That, I don't want to recognize LeBron James because it diminishes or could diminish what Michael Jordan comes. And I hear that kind of thinking or analogy with people who talk about these great JSU defenses, particularly when they hear Neely say last year that this is going to be one of the greatest defenses in JSU history. And then when they hear Neely say this year that this is going to be one of the greatest JSU defenses in history, it doesn't diminish 99 or 96 of those glory days defense in the mid and early 70s. These guys are talented. These guys are big. These guys are fast. They got a hell of a defensive staff, coaching them. So they're going to do great things. And what you saw out there in Miami was not a fluke. We told you guys all summer long, to those who would listen, man, this defense is upgraded at every level. We got edge rushers. We got linemen up front, that front four. We got linebackers. We got corners. We got safeties. Every position is loaded with more talent and depth. Look at the number of guys. Chuck, you could have literally flipped a coin or pulled straws to see who was going to be the defensive player of the game.
You're right.
It could have gone to anybody out because they were all flying around. And everybody was worried about, well, what are we going to do with no James Houston? You saw what we're going to do with no James Houston. And that's not a slight to James Houston because he was a wonderful asset for us. But he was replaced with equal or greater talent. And you see that when you watch that game against FAMU.
No doubt, Jackson State defense forced sacks in this game. They also had a fumble recovery, scoop and score Aubrey Miller for a touchdown. K5, Kevin Wiggins, he also with a pick 6 going in for Jackson State. A truly dominating performance. And leading into that game, they had a special visitor. And I tell you what, just listening to him, Neely, he put a fire into me, and I ain't putting on no helmet or shoulder pads. I can only imagine how juiced up this defense was going into that game.
Yeah, I had 2 special visitors during the week there, man. We're going to pull up Warren Sapp first. defensive line Hall of Famer, played there in Miami at U. Good friend of Coach Brian. He stopped by to talk to the team and talk to the D-line unit. So let's take a listen to Warren Sapp in Miami talking to the Tigers.
Orange Blossom Classic, going to be a great matchup on Sunday. The preparation continues here, not skipping a beat, just keeping it moving, and just excited about this opportunity, man. It's going to be a great classic.
Ready? Hell yeah! Defense, are you ready? Hell yeah! Tigers, are you ready? Hell yeah! Tiger attacks begin! JSU Tigers! Woo!
Everything full speed, everything with intensity, everything with passion. Let's go get it. Ain't no resting today, ain't no breaks today. Go get it. Practice that game speed so the game is like practice. Break it down and let's go.
Let's go, baby. Let's go, baby. Hey,
One, two, three.
Woo! Get down!
Let's go. Your eyes real quick. I need your eyes real quick. Tough day. I wanted you to get out here and experience that Florida heat. It's a little different, huh?
Yes, it is.
It's a little different, huh? Yes. But guess what? You got to reach down in you. It's in you. Everything you need is already in you. You can't tap out. Some of y'all that tap out guy was right here and right here. And you was listening to that one that said tap out a little more than the other one. But it's in you. We got to fight through the adversity. We got to fight through the pain. We got to fight through that willing and that want. And shut it down. We got to fight through it. And we got to stop questioning our coaches. Stop questioning them. They know they study their butt off. They understand the game plan. They got you a great game plan. They execute the game plan. You just got to do your job. Just do what you do and we're going to be all right. Sapp Daddy, yeah?
I'm here.
Give him something. I needed something from the Sapp Daddy.
Hey, man, whenever I get a chance to stand in front of young men like this that have an opportunity to do some special things, I think about one thing. I cut my hands and feet off to put myself back in that position where you at right now. Because you have a group of men around you and coaches that are putting you in a position to go out and excel. They're giving away generational wealth, fellas, if you understand what I'm saying. And you have everything in front of you every day that you need to go anywhere you want to go in life. We all know the vows, right? Yes, sir. A-E-I-O-U, we all know the vows? Yes, sir. Give me a word with all of them in it. Education. That's the key that'll take you wherever you want to go. It's right in front of you. So go in that goddamn classroom, get with these coaches, absorb that knowledge, and then go out and execute. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. I'm telling you, I would trade. I trade that gold bus, my Hall of Fame jacket, my Super Bowl ring, and my Hall of Fame ring to sit where you are right now. Y'all have an opportunity of a lifetime. Seize it. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. All right, 4 quarters, sideline to sideline, goalpost to goalpost for 4 motherfucking quarters. That's what I want to see Sunday. You got me?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's rock.
Break it down and set that.
Come on, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's dominate on 3, fellas. 1, 2, 3.
Dominate! Get a job, get a job.
Sapp Daddy, see you.
Warnock promised to speak for all Georgians, but since
I tell you what, man, Sapp bringing the heat as only Warren Sapp can do. Goalpost to goalpost, bro.
Sideline to sideline. Bring that mother. Hey, man. Hey, Chuck, I saw you go grab a helmet and shoulder pads, man. You was ready to get out there.
Hey, man, I was fired up. I can only imagine what it was like for those guys who actually were putting on a helmet and shoulder pads. But I tell you what, the preparation was on point in terms of getting ready for this tough FAMU team. We went out and executed, man. Brought home the W for our Jackson State fans. And I tell you what, It was a beautiful thing to watch. Guys executed in all phases. When you talk about offense, defense, defense, and I told you so. And let us not forget the special teams aspect as well, as they were great timely punting in terms of pinning Florida A&M deep, but also knocking a field goal, extra points. It's perfect. Tell you what, if we're grading this first game against Florida A&M, Neely, what you got for us?
Well, before we go to those grades, let me echo something and underscore something on that special teams play. You're exactly right. Directional punting, pinning the other team deep, field goals and extra points that did not look shaky. You didn't have to pray them through the uprights. And then just the courage when we had to punt or kick off, everybody staying in their lanes and assignments. And we can't forget that block punt that led to a score on special teams.
Yeah.
So you had a game. Now, typically we're used to a return going back for a score. So we are accustomed to the defense scoring, the offense scoring, and the special team scoring. But we scored off a blocked punt. Against FAMU. Did not come close once again to having any of ours blocked. But just that alignment and assignment and technique that the staff stresses, man, special teams played off the charts. Again, out there kicking by committee, long snapping by committee, they're deep even in that specialist category. But when you ask me for the grades, man, how do you not give A's all around, for that performance? But to chime in on something Coach Prime talks about, we still have some things to clean up because we still did not play anywhere near a perfect game. One of those deep kicks I'm talking about, we could have downed it on the one. In a mental error, we go into the end zone with it. We have a drive that is about to be, dead in the water, and we get a defensive holding call that wasn't even a necessary hold. It was away from the play. We got a penalty right before halftime that allowed FAMU to continue a drive and get a field goal. So we got some things, Chuck, that we have just absolutely got to clean up, because you take away those errors like that, and man, now you're talking about a 70-point game with 0 on the board, because that 3 points they got, we gave them off penalty right before the halftime. I heard Willie Simmons talk to the quarterback club in Tallahassee after the game, and he talked about, hey, we handed them 28 points. I'm going to adjust that. We took 28 points. I don't know if you handed it to us, but we took 28 points and then had another 28, that we found out there on our own. But we left an additional 28 out there in mental errors, that maybe the commentators or the fan or the band or whoever didn't see, but there were some missed opportunities out there, man, and it drives Coach Prime nuts.
Yeah, quite a few missed opportunities. And another something to look at cleaning up, always things to improve on from week to week. Our team did have 12 penalties for 115 yards, so that is something moving forward that you have to clean up going into this Tennessee State game.
Yeah, sure. Chuck, what you look for going through a season, and one of the coaches, I think Coach Trevor mentioned this, probably you're not that you don't grow every week, but your biggest time for growth is between games 1 and 2.
Games 1 and 2.
And so we caught FAMU on their second game. So they should have been better than the UNC. And we should be better when we get to Memphis, against Tennessee State. You want to grow each week, but the biggest portion of growth you'll see is when you get that first game under your belt and going into that second. And Coach Prime talked about this, man. When we sat down with them, traveling with the team, he said, look, 2 best teams in the SWAC last year, Jack State and FAMU, were also the 2 most penalized teams in the SWAC last year.
Yeah.
And he hates those drive-killing penalties or those drive continuing for the other team penalties. It's 3rd and 5, or you hop outside. It's 3rd and 9, and you get a personal foul or something like that. And you'll see when you look at those penalties, we got some stuff to clean up because what's going to inevitably happen in this season, we're going to continue to win and dominate, but somebody's going to get closer. Because you're going to have film out there. They're going to grow and develop.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to catch up and game plan on some of this stuff. And so you can't give away missed opportunities, give away points on penalties. And 100+ yards on penalties, could be the difference between a win and a loss when you get toward the middle of the season.
No doubt about it. In addition to Warren Sapp, who stopped by and gave some very encouraging words to our Tiger team, Michael Vick also stop by. And we have some great footage on Michael Vick stopping by Jackson State practice prior to the Jackson State Florida A&M game. Let's roll that.
Dion, we go way back. Anytime I run into Prime, he always giving me instructions on my life moving forward, whether it's in TV, whether it's in, doing a football camp with kids. He's always been a role model. I always looked up to him, and he's a legend. Not just for what he do in football, but for everything that he do. Yeah, they do. They look better this year than last year, and then I expect the offense to be a lot better than it was last year. I know year one for this team when Prime was here was going through the pandemic, going through all of the phases of becoming great, and now it's all starting to come to fruition. It means the world. I mean, I was just telling Coach, like, this and what he's doing is transcending HBCUs, is transcending the game on this level. And, he's putting everything in it, everything that he's learned over the years, everything that he's been able to, understand and learn from all his years' experience, whether it's playing on the pro level or coaching. He's bringing it into this space, and it's beautiful. So I can see why this team will, compete for championships for years to come. This year ain't for years to come.
We need a ball. We need a ball.
What is
we need a ball.
Yeah,
we need a ball. We need a ball. We need a ball. What? Yes. Anything you want. I think you've done this a couple times. You've done this a couple times. I got the shade. Get the shade. I got it.
Hey, we're just ready, set, go, Coach. That's all.
Ready. Let's go.
Are you ready?
There we go. There we go. I think he done that before. There we go. Everybody up. Senor on three, all right?
Si, senor, on three. 1, 2, 3.
Si, senor.
What an experience for these guys to get some great encouraging words from two guys of caliber of Warren Sapp and Michael Vick, man. I talk about playing for Jackson State football right now. It's the opportunity of a lifetime, bro.
One of the things I love about that clip that might get by is Shane Hooks, who did the damn thing, on Sunday afternoon. On that day, you could see Shane Hooks excitedly run out wide because he's thinking Michael Vick was going to drop it to him. When anybody Mike Vick's age or older, we know Mike Vick was keeping that thing.
We know he was keeping it. Hey, once he saw the opening, he gone. Oh, man, I tell you, that was great stuff, man. So we'll close the books on Florida A&M 59-3, Jackson State 1-0. It's now time to look forward. Now, we have the Southern Heritage Classic game this weekend where we take on an improved Tennessee State Tiger football team. They are 0-1 on the season, having lost to number 13 Eastern Washington this past week. But it's a different football team. They are under the tutelage, of course, of Eddie George, year 2 of the Eddie George era. But a new quarterback under the center for the Tennessee State Tigers, Drayton Ellis. He is a transfer from Austin Peay, where he racked up close to 4,000 yards passing at Austin Peay, and he's now under the center for the Tennessee State Tigers. Had a great opening weekend, I believe, for Tennessee State, and we'll get into it as we prep and get ready for the pregame show prior to Jackson State versus Tennessee State. But you talk about this Tennessee State team in that first game. Balance is the first thing that jumps out at you. 290 yards rushing, 257 yards passing, and they have a running back, Devon Starling, 207 yards on 25 carries. So our defense is going to have their hands full this weekend in Southern Heritage Classic.
Yeah, I think what jumps out to me about this Eddie George year 2, Eddie George sophomore season, is they're better. They're a better team than they were last year. They have upgraded at positions. They got some talent in. Some of the talent that they retained has grown over the summer, and it's looking good. But this is one of the things that we have said all summer long, going all the way back to spring ball, that Jackson State got better. And if teams were able, if teams were blessed, and they were fortunate to get to where we were last November, last December, we're not where we were last November, last December. So I still think advantage to the Jackson State Tigers in this matchup. And I know you and I will be in Memphis embedded with the team once again, and I'll be doing a pregame show live, and we'll get into some deep dive nuances of what to expect on Saturday night. We bring that to you on Friday, I think. But this is going to be a good matchup. Weather could be a factor. There are some thunderstorms that are likely to be moving in through the Memphis area Saturday night. So we may be playing part of this game in the rain, but it rains on both teams. They do have a new exciting quarterback that you mentioned in Ellis. His family is from Mississippi Delta, and the guy's got an arm and some legs. So the defense is going to have to play with some eye discipline, if you will, to make sure they're keeping him where he needs to be in corral. But I don't think a Dennis Thurman game plan changes too much because you got a better guy back there because he believes in his better defense. So there's going to be pressure applied. The defensive front is going to be there to stop the run game, that balanced attack, if you will. But because they're so balanced that they bring that same mystique from week one to us, everybody's got to play honest. Everybody's got to do their job, which means sometimes your job gets a little boring. But the minute you get out of alignment, get out of your assignment, is the minute the ball comes that way for a big play. So I look for our Tiger defense to have to learn how to stay at home and watch these guys because this is not the Tennessee State team from last year.
Exactly. Always a great time up in Memphis for the Southern Heritage Classic. You talk about Jackson State and Tennessee State, two blood programs within the HBCU universe, and so many ties between Tennessee State and Jackson State. So many people in the Jackson area that have matriculated through Tennessee State, and likewise up in Nashville to come down to Jackson. But always sort of a familiar atmosphere here at the Southern Heritage Classic. And the Memphis Alumni Chapter always does a tremendous job in terms of putting on a show for our Jackson State fan base who are coming up.
Yeah, who knows, man? This could be the last one. There's been a lot of talk that we won't be participating going farther than this one, not without some serious renegotiations taking place. So a lot of people have been saying the last dance with this one, but we'll see. Business is business, and when the business is right, business is booming. So for now, we've made it plain that hey, this is what we want, or else, and we'll see where that goes. But all roads lead, 3 hours north from Jackson, 3 hours west from Nashville. It's the center of attention between these two schools playing that game in Memphis. Both alumni bases are strong in that metro Memphis area, spilling over to Arkansas and even down into Mississippi. So I'm expecting a packed Liberty Bowl, as it used to be called. I think some bank name is on it now. So sorry about that, bank. Y'all don't sponsor pregame shows, so I ain't got it. So it's going to be a packed night. Be a packed night at the Liberty Bowl with a lot of fan activities, during the day. But I do want to say, Chuck, once again, dominant performance over FAMU, but lick your finger, turn the page. That's behind us. You have to get ready to face a Tennessee State team who plays a different style and different brand of ball. When you think about this, Chuck, organizations take on the culture, personalities of it.
Yes, sir.
You see our guys, working hard and having fun because that's what Coach Prime does. He's a hard worker and he always has a smile on his face.
Exactly.
You see FAMU's team is built like Willie Simmons, used to play back in his days, coming up. And you can expect that an Eddie George team is going to have a badass running back.
Yeah, you better believe it. You better believe it.
They're going to run the ball because that's the culture of their coach. And that's why you see that balance between their passing game and their running game. But what I'm interested to see, they got to have a defense that faces our offense. Mm-hmm. And we got an offense with the QB1 that really has shown his growth between freshman year and sophomore year and responds well under that pressure. It has a better offensive line, has a running game by committee, has tight end utilization now, and of course has deep threats. And we'll look at that travel roster for this game because one thing you can expect all season long, it's almost, Chuck, you remember how they said, I think they probably still do it. You could make J set, but that don't mean you actually perform at halftime.
There you go.
For that.
There you go.
Man, we got some select guys. Yeah, they're going on every trip. They're playing every game because they are the leaders of that unit. But some of those deeper units like corner and wide receiver, man, you don't know who's coming.
Hey, it's gonna be a fight.
We'll see on that much. You got to fight week in and week out, and it's based on your practice performance, not your previous game performance. So yeah, did Shane Hooks get off in Miami? Sure did. Did Dallas Daniels get off in Miami? Absolutely. But if those guys don't have great practices this week, TC Taylor's going to go with another 5.
You're right.
It's just that
It's that
defense
deep.
talented.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
Tennessee State, if you're out there preparing for what you saw in Miami, that might not be what's coming to Memphis.
Boy, those are very, very scary words, just knowing how deep this roster is. Well, I tell you what, Neely, we're going to take a deeper dive looking at Tennessee State as we look at the pregame show this upcoming Friday. An opportunity to talk with the writer for Tennessee State, Mike Organ, who covers them for the Tennessean, and he takes a very, very deep look at this Tennessee State roster. So definitely, our Jackson State fans should stay tuned as we get ready for Big Blue, also known as Tennessee State University. But I tell you what, man, game 1 in the books, 1-0. You said it's a 13-chapter book. Chapter 1 is down.
Chuck, all I got to say about that, what I got to say about this. Just Tiger Nation, and the haters, don't forget, I told you so.
I told you so, no doubt about it.
Watch defense travels, Chuck. Watch this defense travel to Memphis. Write it down.
No doubt about it, defense travels. Well, in closing, as always, we want to thank our sponsors. Title sponsor for this show, Chambers & Gaylor Law Firm, the Project Architect, Amber Slaughter, and of course, BioSteel. You see them, the logo right down there in the corner with every time talk about straight out the tiger's mouth. So we want to thank those sponsors for coming on board for the pregame show as we go through this 13-chapter book during the course of the season. Neely, I think your parting shot was "I told you so." Any final words for this?
You know what? When we have the Friday night show, I'm going to tell you so again. And we have next Wednesday show, we're looking back, I'm going to told you so again. I'm going to keep on told you so because I trust my eyes. I've seen what these guys can do. I saw them do it all summer long. New strength and conditioning coach has made a world of difference. Chuck, I took stats 4 times because I flunked it each part. So I had to take each part twice. So I know probabilities and I know random sampling. I got at least 5 text messages that said, hey, man, it should do it faster this year. If I got 5 text messages, that means 5,000 people were thinking it. Yes, he's faster this year. The whole team is faster this year. Did you see Niles Gaddy, man? Do you see his burst that he has this year? Did you see Julius Reynolds' juice, the speed that he has getting to the ball? These guys, man, have worked their asses off under the new strength and conditioning coach all summer long. And you are seeing the results of that. You're going to see it Saturday night in Memphis, Tennessee.
And the big thing, they're hungry. They've heard all the naysayers. They're coming full bore, if you will, the rest of this season. So we're looking forward to a potentially historic Jackson State season. It's going to be a fun ride, Neil. Looking forward to it, my brother.
And I know you keep trying to rap, man. I'm going to let you rap. But I want to give a big-ass shout-out to that offensive line, man.
Yes, sir.
Kudos to the offensive line. Those guys catch the blame for every bad play, rarely get credit for a good play. But as a unit, they were the difference maker for QB1. They were the difference maker for this team. So hats off to Mike Marcus and hats off to that offensive line unit who showed up ready to play in FAMU, and they really shut down all the doubters. I think that the defense, that performance was better than expected, but people expected something. I think the offense was better than expected, but people expected something. People didn't know what to expect with that offensive line, and that offensive line showed you what they're capable of all game long in Miami. We're going to see if it travels to Tennessee.
We're going to see if it travels to Tennessee. Looking forward to it. Don't forget to tune in on all our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. I tell you what, looking forward to doing the pregame show live again Friday. Tune in with us as we take a deep dive into Tennessee State University and prep you for the Southern Heritage Classic. It's been another great one. It's Bishop. It's Neely. It's a pregame show.
And we're twins. Twins.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the Pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the Pregame.